Our program today is going to be President Shelia Gestring. Of course, we're very excited to have you here. It does feel like an honor to get to introduce her. So Shelia Gestring became the 18th president of the University of South Dakota on June 22nd of 2018, after serving as the chief financial officer since 2010 and part of the USD finance office since 2006. She is a South Dakota native and the second USD graduate and woman to serve as president. As a visionary financial leader, Gestring has played a pivotal role in stabilizing the university's financial position while developing innovative financing plans for new facilities across campus. She was an instrumental leader in the University of South Dakota's Foundation Onward campaign, which surpassed over $250 million raised for student scholarships and development. Gestring's strong vision for the future of the university is coupled with her operational expertise. She is a vigorous defender of public education, particularly the liberal arts, and has a reputation around the state as an inventive problem solver. That's a good reputation. She understands the needs of the USD and the public higher education, while recognizing the economic and political impacts, both statewide and nationally. Her advanced approach to solving complex budgetary issues provides students with access to life-changing research experiences, as well as scholarships that make higher education affordable for all. Beyond her commitment to the university, Gestring has been a driving force in growing the city of Vermillion and creating a positive, symbiotic relationship between the community and the university. As a past chairperson of the Vermillion Chamber and Development Corporation, Gestring was a key visionary behind the historic renovation of McVicker Plaza, effectively linking the university and the VCDC in a meaningful way through the retail partnership with Charlie's USD Fan Shop. Under her tenure, Gestring helped the VCDC accomplish exceptional growth, including achieving consecutive record growth for membership, doubling the amount of building permits, and tripling the amount of annual construction investments made in the community. She is also a dedicated community member, having served as a board member and leader of many nonprofit organizations in the community over the years. On a personal note, about 4 years ago, while I was actually working for the finance department at USD, I had an opportunity to pursue a significant advancement professionally. Then CFO Gestring, at the time, would have actually been my boss's boss's boss, was very kind to me to share her time and some sage advice after having barely known me, in full knowledge that if I was successful in my goal, it would leave an opportunity or leave a position open on her team. For that small act of kindness, I will forever be truly grateful. And it's just one of the reasons that it is my honor today to introduce our presenter and fellow Vermillion Rotarian, President Shelia Gestring.
And now I'll be taking Nick with me everywhere I go so that I feel better every single day. Thank you. That was a very generous introduction. And I remember that day talking with you about that opportunity, but the University of South Dakota is a pretty special place, and I think all of us here know that and can appreciate that. We just recently had the State of the University, and I promised I would not rattle off the entire address again a second time because it took over an hour and 10 minutes. So normally we try to keep those under about 40 minutes so that there's more time for questions, but it was just kind of astounding everything that's taken place over the last year. Even when we're in the middle of a challenge like a global pandemic, this university seems to keep moving forward, and I would say in the last year and a half has probably pulled together in some of the most meaningful ways that I've seen. And I think that's true of our community as well. I love when I get credit for all the things Nate did, so we're just gonna keep that. I didn't realize I had done all that with building permits, but just a few measures of our success, and I'll skip to sort of the outcomes. Many of you have heard everything leading up to it. But I think it's important for people to know that the University of South Dakota is a very effective organization. And I say that because some of the current talk around Senate Bill 55, and we'll have that group here on campus in a couple of weeks, really focuses in on efficiencies, but also effectiveness as well. So when you think about the difference between the two, what I've explained is we could deliver a credit hour incredibly cheaply, one might call it efficiently, but if we never deliver a degree, that would make us highly ineffective. And so we always have to be very careful when balancing those things. And I think USD has just done a fabulous job of that. Our retention rate has gone from 72% in 2017 to 81% last year. We did come down a little bit preliminarily. It's about 77 this year, but it was a global pandemic, right? I mean, there were a lot of mental health issues, and I'm not going to make light of that. Students really struggled at times, and we'll get them back. Our retention efforts are working. Even 77% is really pretty good, considering that we're very much open access as a university. So when you think about that, our national peers, many of them are not open access, and so they're bringing in higher academically credentialed students. We're meeting students where they are, and we're still graduating them and retaining them at the same rate, and that's something I'm really proud of. In fact, since 2010, I know these numbers sound low, I'll try to put them in context. In 2010, USD's four-year graduation rate was 18.2%. Last year, it was 42.9%, someone getting through in 4 years. That's a 24.6% change. If you're not in higher education, you probably don't truly appreciate how dramatic a change that is. It generally, obviously, takes 4 years, right, to make an impact. Your incoming class, and then they take 4 years to get to graduation. A 24.6% change in the course of 10 years is phenomenal. 6 years, this is when a student might take a little bit longer, 45% in 2010, 59.6% in 2021. That's the highest in the system. It's the highest in our regional comparisons, and we're tied with, again, our national peers who oftentimes have more resources and higher credentialed students coming in. So what we do with everything that we have here is just absolutely incredible, and I couldn't be more proud of the faculty and staff and the students that come here and work hard. I think it's because of sort of this special, unique situation the USD has, and that is that we have the offerings of a flagship liberal arts university, but we're still community enough, small enough, that we can create relationships and really connect and have meaningful dialogues too. We're also more affordable. A lot of times you hear that higher education in South Dakota has gotten out of control, it's too expensive. Anytime someone isn't able to go because of resources, then I agree. We need to find ways to help those students have opportunity. But when comparing ourselves to comparisons in the region, again, and national peers, USD is $3,500 per year less for an in-state student than even some of those national peers, and $17,000 per year less for an out-of-state student. So we're very affordable. We also have the largest number of graduate students, both proportionately but also in count, between the medical school, the law school, all of those graduate degrees. So one would expect that we would be more expensive per degree, but we're not. We're about 67% of the cost to deliver a degree here. We spend 67% of our average national peers. And in some ways that can be challenging. I wish we were spending more on research per graduate, for example. But I'm pretty proud that when you take a look at institutional support and student services, we're still low, and we're still serving students that are still graduating. So the services are being delivered, and they're doing a high quality job. And I've always been impressed, and I hope that everyone starts to hear that story just a little bit more. Also in 21, we had the third highest amount of external awards in university history, research awards. That drives economic development, not just for Vermillion and Clay County, but also for the state. It would be, I think, probably second highest, but in fiscal year 19, I'm told we received some awards early, so that one was inflated, and 20 was low, but we'll go with the third highest regardless. And just for your information, the proportion of federal funds on that is 67%, 24% state dollars, and 9% other and nonprofit. And the total dollar amount was $31,897,703. That's a pretty significant infusion of funds into our economy. I should have said this up front, but everybody, I hope, noticed those booklets. If you didn't get one and you would like one, just reach out to the office of the president, and Nick, you'll get one to you. So I didn't know if everybody would want to walk away with one or not, and I didn't want to carry that many. So I think many of you have probably also heard the really good news from U.S. News and World Report that for the second consecutive year, the University of South Dakota is the best in the Dakotas. For national universities, we were 239, jumping 10 spots, which is 49 spots better than the school to the north. Not that I'm competitive. And then also we were 118th, also South Dakota and North Dakota's top public school. Beyond that, and I'm not going to mention everybody, I know I don't have them all here with me, but our academic programs do really, really well, and they individually rank nationally. The Beacom School of Business was 212 for its undergraduate business program. It was also, let's see, they were also ranked in a new ranking, I think it was 28th, as being a military-friendly online MBA. We were 16th in the business school on the Princeton Review's top 50 online MBA programs as well. For nursing, number 148 for nursing programs. In sustainability, we were ranked the #1 best value school. And then USD's ROTC, I'm just so impressed with this. They moved up 100 spots from last year to rank 37th in the country for the Order of Merit scores, which just is testament to how incredibly talented and hardworking those students are as well. Beyond that, we had 5 national scholars again. USD continues to have lots of national scholars coming out of mostly the College of Arts and Science, but from all areas as well. I'm going to probably not get this 100% right, but Juliana Benge, she is from St. Francis, South Dakota. She was awarded the Udall Scholar. Tyler Larson, also awarded the Udall Scholar from Lower Sioux Indian Community in Minnesota. Carter Link from Woonsocket, South Dakota, was awarded the Benjamin A. Gilman International Scholarship. Ross Euler, Rapid City, South Dakota, Fulbright Teaching Assistantship. And then Elena Freeman from right here in Vermillion, South Dakota, the Princeton in Africa Fellowship. So very proud of those students and the hard work it takes and commitment to get that done. I'm sure everybody's noticed the progress on the Health Sciences building. That's really starting to take shape. We are really excited about that facility. It's going to do a lot for not just the University of South Dakota and this community, but for the state's healthcare as well. We'll be able to expand many of the programs that are in significant need. We were fortunate to get the support of our state representatives and legislators, our governor, Board of Regents, and some very generous donors. So delighted to have that in progress, hoping that will be ready to move into by August next year. Once that happens, we will be auctioning off the bricks from Julian. So if I were you, I'd get ready to start bidding now. There's going to be high demand. But, no, we'll take Julian down just as soon as we get everyone moved out. And then that will be parking, which will provide some pretty significant relief to the south side of campus. That's always been a challenge for us. And I actually think the residents in that part of town are going to really appreciate having some south side parking as well. So really looking forward to that. I'm sure everyone here has heard about the ribbon cutting of the National Music Museum. That was a really nicely done event. Thank you to Nate and the Chamber and for all the partners that were a part of that event. I did tell Nick this. I was at 3 a.m. on Thursday morning, I woke up and in excruciating pain. So I took some ibuprofen and I thought, no, I can get through this. I've got the state of the university, just power through, it'll be fine. At 4 a.m. on Friday morning, the same thing. I took some ibuprofen, and by 5:15 at the National Music Museum, I told some people, if I don't go home, I'm going to pass out in pain. Thankful to Matt Knutson for taking care of my tooth, and I am much better now. And Matt Lavin for filling prescriptions at a time when he's not normally open. So that was awful, but it was a wonderful event. I really appreciated the turnout, and we're really excited about that project here on campus, and it's a fabulous addition. The Mcusic Technology Center. For many of you that are familiar with campus, that's where we used to have Center for Teaching and Learning. And we're completely renovating that space to be able to move in communication disorders. They're currently in Note Boom, if you're familiar with that building, and it's not been the best building on campus. So we're trying to upgrade their space and give them a modern facility to work with. And we'll keep Note Boom for a while, because as we do renovations, we're going to need swing spaces. And we have a very significant renovation coming up with the South Dakota Union building, where we house psychology. And the best, most efficient way to do that is to do it all at once, because then it's one contractor, and it's just the best use of money to do it that way. It's a little painful, but worth it in the end. Knutson Theater, hopefully everyone's had an opportunity to see that or will shortly. They just opened with Fun Home, and looking forward to the rest of what they have to offer this season. Colton Recital Hall will open shortly, also beautifully done. It's about a $1.4 million renovation. The Knutson Theater was $2.1 million renovation. And then we also built a sculpture yard for the art department so that they have a safe place to do iron pours. So really pleased with all of that. Hope we can keep that momentum going. Working on an expansion to the wellness center. We're going to try and get the pool out of the dungeon and provide something that's more usable for the entire community and the entire student body, as well as significant improvements for athletics. I think I was complaining to my now CFO that we have Division I swim team and we have a kindergarten pool, so we're going to fix that. The Knutson School of Law, we're trying to find some ways to do some upgrades there. Many of the law journals are online, and so it used to be years ago about a 3-story library, and now we're down to about 1. And so we have an entire floor that currently is not utilized that could be renovated and add some technology that would allow us to do a lot more outreach to rural communities and give our students more opportunities at clinics. So we're working through that. Fairly significant renovation, but working through that to see if we can't get some dollars to do that. I think that benefits not just rural South Dakota, but also our students and having that real world experience. And then the financial health. USD continues to be financially healthy. That was not done in a vacuum. That was a lot of people playing a big role in making that happen. Campus really stepped up and worked hard at identifying savings, knowing that the pandemic was, one, potentially going to impact our enrollment, and 2, we were having to spend a lot more time cleaning and a lot more materials and all of those sorts of things. And so sort of voluntarily identified where they could get some short-term savings so that we could get through. Definitely could not have gotten through this without the support of our congressional delegation and the governor and Senator Rush and Representative Davis for the dollars that flowed through state government from those federal relief packages. Would not be in the position that we are today without all of your help as well. By the time we're done with all of the relief funds, we will have issued about $10 million in grants to our students to help them get through the pandemic as well. And then $13 million in supports for them for things like technology and PPE and some of those other needed items and special cleaning, those that were trained to clean COVID rooms and COVID floors when we had isolation and quarantine rooms. So really appreciative of all that and what was done there. And then finally, the foundation. I'm sure many of you, if not all of you, have heard that Steve Brown will be retiring, but not after he had a pretty significant decade of success. The endowment now is up to $328 million. He was part of that campaign. Obviously, he probably did all the work, but I'll take the credit for that too. $270 million raised during that last campaign. And last year was one of our best years ever. I think it was the second best, and I'm not sure how I got beat. But we raised $45.8 million last year alone. And we've done that through some innovative ways. Patriots Plaza, and I appreciate the partnership of that group that came together to get that put together. I think it's a beautiful addition to campus. I think everyone really appreciates it. Delta Dental, the Oral Health Center, gave $1 million to name the community clinic in the new Health Sciences building. Really appreciate that. Unite for USD, $1.6 million raised. My goal for this year is $1.862 million, because I think that makes sense given that we were established in 1862. And I just added 3 zeros. Calling All Coyotes did really well again this year. That event in the last few years, several years, has raised over $2.3 million for athletic scholarships for our students, and that's very helpful, and I know the students greatly appreciate it. The Take Your Seat campaign for USD's College of Fine Arts, in both Colton and Knutson, there's an opportunity to honor someone if you would like, or place your name on a little plaque. It's real, like we did in Alf's, but to take your seat with a $500 donation for each seat. That campaign's gone really well. So far, we've raised about $120,000 for the College of Fine Arts, which will make a big impact for them. And then Women in Philanthropy, which is a fairly new initiative for us, and thanks to Sue Tuvey for serving on my steering committee and leadership committee for that. We've raised about $500,000 in just 2 years. So really happy about the initiatives there. We started with the women's basketball team Elevate program. Last year, we were able to fund or give Kickstart funds to Charlie's Cupboard, and that has grown to 3 times its original location. And they've expanded their offerings to include some fresh vegetables and some frozen goods. And I know that has really been a lifeline for a lot of students, particularly, I think, international students during the pandemic when they weren't able to work because they're not allowed to work off campus. And so that was particularly important during that pandemic time. They also supported mental health, expanding mental health for us this year. And then for the future, they're going to provide funding and support for the President Senior Leadership Institute, which provides graduating students the opportunity to go through a 9-month sort of institute. You start with some strengths finders, understanding where your strengths are, go through seminars throughout the year to include financial literacy, resume and job readiness, an etiquette dinner, wraps up with a tour around the state of South Dakota with stops in Pine Ridge, out in the hills, back in Pierre to talk with some state leaders, and then concludes back in, I think here or Sioux Falls, I don't know if they've finalized it yet, with a a networking dinner with alums. So that student will be matched up with an alum in the field of study that student has pursued. Really good opportunity for those students. We have 51 so far that have applied this year, and that's probably about double. So we're excited that's out there. They also supported a living learning community for the Native American students. It's an opportunity to sort of bridge their culture as they make their transition to college life, which I think will really be helpful for retention and graduation rates. Also, the Cultural Wellness Coalition is featuring a film series that they're very excited about. Bless you. And then I had it until that sneeze. The Women in Law seminar series, panel series, where Neil Fulton brings in some lawyer women in leadership to talk with the law school students. So couldn't be more thrilled with the work of the foundation and the partnership and helping us find ways to engage campus with our alum and all our constituents as well. With that, I've talked long enough again to not have a lot of time for questions, but I'd be happy to entertain any if anyone has some. Yeah.
So once the wellness center is finished, what's the next major project that you have in mind?
Well, we're working on updating the capital plan for the campus. I think we're at a point where it's time to update that. So I know facilities and the Vice President for Finance and Administration has been going and talking to each college and school and major department to find out what are the needs out there, because I think we've missed that voice for a few years, and I'd like to, before I commit to what I think, hear what campus has to say first, but yeah.
Thank you very much for coming. That was very interesting. Last night when we were coming back from Sioux Falls, we saw the 2 fire trucks go over to the dorms on the north side of the campus. Was it a false alarm? Was there a fire? I mean, it seems like the fire trucks have gone out quite a lot in the last year.
There was a gas leak near Knutson School. I don't know if you.
I have not heard anything from campus.
You were there. We didn't notice, and in fact, it was the ladder truck that went out as well. Yeah, okay, all right.
Happy D-Days. He's very tardy. That will be what I refer to it as a pop-up park. That's probably wrong. But it'll be called Founders Park, and within that park will be Clem Fountain and the Thompson Lawn. And it's an opportunity for the community to just enjoy a gathering space. There'll be seating areas, trying to bring back some of that quartzite and incorporate that into the landscaping as well. It was supposed to be done by Dakota Days when they started the project, but as you can see, that's not close.
Do you have any numbers on how many students domicile off of campus in Vermillion?
In Vermillion, that I don't know the answer to, but if I were to guess some round numbers, we think we have just short of 6,700 students in Vermillion attending classes. So some of those are going to be in the dorms. About 1,900 of those are in the dorms. Some of those may live around the area. They could commute from Sioux Falls or Yankton or Sioux City or Wakanda or maybe even here within Vermillion. It's hard to say. And then the balance of those are going to be living in rentals, or perhaps they purchased it to have for 4 years. So my guess would be about half the 6,700. It's got to be more than that, probably 4,500. Because most of our graduate students do not live in the dorms, and they're here, so. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're talking residency? That would not include that, but they are included in all of this information. You know, they're pretty well connected. We have to have consistency in our curriculum, certainly. And so the programs delivered up there would mirror programs here if they were both offered at the same place. Our big focus up there right now, though, is the associate's degree, and we don't offer a lot of those here in Vermillion. So we really see that as probably the niche up there, is get that first 2 years under your belt and then come to campus. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much.